We got world championships, aces, whatever this is, and more that's got the community shocked. What's up, degenerates? It's the disc golf world. I'm Jefferson, and alongside me, the one with all the holes in his game, Swiss Cheese, recapping all the disc golf you missed from the weekend. The PCS Open was over the pond, and Minnesota hosted the Masters World Championships. But before all that, there's some shocking things we gotta talk about. In 2 weeks, it'll be time for the European Disc Golf Festival, and that begs the question, will that be enough time for all the grass to grow back? The same venue as the major just hosted an Estonian song festival this past weekend that was attended by nearly 100,000 people. Issue was the rain, and there was lots of it. The crew has less than 11 days before the official start, and the lawn looks more like a middle-aged man's head than a disc golf course. Lead organizers said they'll do everything they possibly can for the grass, saying the conditions might be poor, but not hopeless. Others continue to stay positive, putting full faith into the strong team, an opinion that isn't shared by everyone in the community. Some shocked the event was even chosen in the first place. Although I can't agree with that thought, since majority of pros called this tournament the most professional they'd ever played last year. As of right now, the course is to be set up as it's written. However, if it's still extremely muddy in a week, they are prepared to make changes. Good to see that they're willing to take action instead of waiting for the complaints to roll in before doing something. It's said in the article that even during majors, there are allowed to be changes made to lanes between two rounds. Not sure what lanes are, but since there is 18 in total, I'm taking that as a fairway, which only 4 are in critical condition, and as stated, there is no panic. Additions are already happening from the previous season, so as long as the players know before the start of the event, I'm all for the designers ensuring the best course possible, and the most important part is the safety of everyone. Shout out to Tonus from Disc Golf Fanatic for keeping the community updated. Make sure to go drop him a follow over there for more bonus content like this custom map showing how the mud could potentially cause problems. If you want to stay up to date on this situation, also make sure to subscribe here.
Whether you want to call it anticipating or praying, fans have been searching for that dominant Kristin Latt performance. That's after weeks of uncharacteristic play that includes a couple of final day lost leads, the never in it that was the USWDGC, her worst finish on the year, and a failed comeback at Preserve. But after day one action at the Sula Open, that much needed get right event looked to be in Kristin's grasp. She started the event going 3 down on the first 4 holes, and she would kick off a 7 straight birdie stretch 4 holes later. Latt would find herself 11 down heading into 18, a full 6 strokes ahead of the next closest competitor. That was before she tripled on 18. Still gave herself a 3-stroke lead going into day 2, only to start that off with a bit of controversy, mainly because it involves Kristin, whose misfortune somehow continued when her drive hit a spotter and landed OB. Would it have been in or out? We'll never know, but what we do know is that looked more like a Norwegian folk dance than any semblance of avoiding a disc. You guys really had me fooled with that Matrix move last week at the European Disc Golf Championship. But this one right here, this one most certainly is up there as one of the worst. As it appears, the sport and its volunteers just can't seem to get out of the way, in the States or otherwise. Because the only difference between the two was this one had a soundtrack behind it. Kristin would struggle after adding 2 OB strokes and a missed mandatory on top of that, but was still able to put enough birdies together to tie the hot round with teenage talent Lida Ledomaki, and extended her lead from 3 to 6 strokes, and somehow Evelina Salonen was right there. Despite her missing 10 putts on the round, she still finished 4 under, and yes, one of those was from 9 feet. Kristin was still primed for victory, even with Evelina riding back-to-back victories in the picture. Latt still had a 6-stroke lead, with no competitor finishing better than 5 under each of the 2 days prior. Her lead on Evelina would extend to 7 after a 2-stroke swing on 3. Shocking though, is that lead disappeared like Epstein's client list only 6 holes later, made worse by the fact that she would find herself behind, going 3 over in that stretch. 5 of her 8 missed C1 putts of the tournament came on the final day, and she finished 2 over for that round. Just as shocking as that final day collapse was her demeanor and body language that even forced the commentators on coverage to acknowledge. Add the fact that her heralded 1,000 rating is also in jeopardy, things are not looking looking up for Kristin, as this latest performance only fuels the speculation that surrounds Kristin. And that's after interviews and social media posts about her mental game. And further pressure as the days on the calendar neared towards Worlds and another major in her home country. Kristin is desperate for a win, or maybe just getting out of Norway. Evelina could not be playing with more confidence, even if this win was aided by a blow-up, as she now adds an Elite Series victory on top of her major win on the season. That just might have provided that self-assurance that she was looking for. Annika Steen's 6-under final day allowed her to have a share of second place with Kristin and her first podium on the season. Over here in the U.S. Masters World Championship had yet another head-to-head between Owen Scoggins and Jennifer Allen. Owen went into the final day with a one-stroke lead, but the two would be tied after a birdie from Allen on 10, and it looked worse for Owen a hole later after going OB, needing a par-saving throw-in from 95 feet and a C1 miss from Allen to remain tied. Unfortunately for Allen, her putting woes would continue, missing another the very next hole and 3-putting for a double bogey on 13. That would be too much for Allen to recover from, as Owen went on to win her 5th straight Masters World Championship in a row. Now let's kick it over to Jefferson for some more news.
On the MPO side, Joe Revere was looking for his record-breaking 4th straight world title, and after round 1, he was just one back of Caleb Viska, who is still looking to make his mark on the Masters division. No place better to do that than the place they call him the King. After round 2, Caleb would still be ahead of Joe by 1 stroke, but day 3 would shake things up. Back-to-back rounds at Kaposia shooting below his rating, Laviska dropped 2 spots. Revere took the solo lead after a hot 12 under, trailing Paul Oman by 1. Now headed back to Blue Ribbon Pines, extending his lead, setting up for a fun final day. Can we appreciate how deep the Masters field is getting and how truly competitive it's gotten? It's actually shocking because I didn't think this many people would care about it. But I mean, just look at these names. How can you not? I'm glad the dgpt covered the final round for some bonus content as well. Championship Sunday was off and started with a birdie from Joe, and keeping pace right there, Dutch, who took a stroke after getting the birdie on hole 3, but would actually take the lead after another birdied fall with back-to-back bogeys from Revere. And the troubles didn't stop as he would miss an uncharacteristic C1X putt the very next hole. Meanwhile, the dark Dutch, shit, that was supposed to be a Batman joke. Whatever, you'll forget about that once you realize he was on a 4-hole birdie stretch playing textbook disc golf. Until hole 9, where he would not only find OB off his drive, but on his approach as well, resulting in a double bogey. Revere would snag the birdie and complete the 3-stroke swing, putting him in a tie for first with only the back half left to play. Before we can talk about the lead card playing hole 10, we have to check into tall Paul Oman, who was 3 down through the front 9. Stepped up in the rain with a high, powerful forehand, finding the chains around the bush for the ace on 10. This would light a fire under Oman, who would go on to play hot from the chase card, getting the birdie on the last 7 holes in a row. More impressive, 6 of those were from 15 feet, finishing at 12 under, sitting at 43 down, now forced to wait. Back to the lead card. Revere took another unfortunate bogey as Dutch secures the birdie, and then smacks another the next hole, fist pumping the long putt mid-flight. Now that's some baller old man shit. Use that momentum to finesse a forehand to a shorter putt, looking down an eagle on hole 12, which he would make. Needed that too as he found the OB pond off his drive and a bogey. This would open the door for Joe, who also got the eagle on 12. Got the birdies on holes 15 and 16, putting him in a tie for the lead with Dutch at 41 down. On 17, both would have less than ideal looks for birdies. Dutch smacked the C2 putt, keeping his dreams alive. The same can't be said about Revere, who missed his second circle 1 putt of the day, settling for 3rd place. Dutch stuck the island on 18, tying Oman up top. Headed to hole 1 for a playoff, Dutch bounced off the pole for a park job, only to be followed up by another bullseye. Now they play hole 18. Off the tee, tall Paul first landed safe, putting all the pressure on Dutch, who wasn't able to keep it in, giving Paul Oman the win and his first ever world championship. Such an awesome event. Honestly, shocking how dope it was. And now there's more storylines than ever in the Masters division. Huge congrats to Oman on the win. Can't think of a guy who deserves it anymore. Okay, now it's time to talk about the PCS Open and whatever the hell this was. Day 1, Adam Hammes shot a clean 10 under for the hot round and lead by 2 strokes. That would string to 1 after Gannon Burr's 11 down, jumping him up 8 spots. and it only took 2 holes for Burr to catch up on the next day. Hamas took the lead back on the very next hole and extended it on hole 6. Although Gannon was still pulling out highlights, they were just to save himself from previous mistakes, nailing back-to-back 60-footers, both to save par. On hole 7, he was back on the birdie train, including a 39-footer on hole 8 and another 60-foot putt on hole 9, which would be a 3-stroke swing and the lead after the basket forgot to do its job for Adam. In the past, this might have spiraled him out of control, at least a few F-bombs under the breath, but now a more mature disc golfer moved along and continued to press. The putt on hole 10 was just disgusting. I mean, how does that even happen? That was to stay 1 back of Gannon too. An early tree on hole 12 put Burr out of position, eventually losing a stroke to Hamas, tying them back up. 16 would be the deciding hole of the tournament. Adam with the box threw an absolute dime onto the grass, making for an easy up and down birdie. Gannon, needing to match, wasn't able to keep his drive clean, but the catalyst was hitting the tree early on his approach, going straight OB, and then decided to do it again, resulting in a double bogey during crunch time. This allowed Adam Hamas to walk in his second win of the season for what possibly could be the best trophy announcement an Elite Series has ever seen. Dare I call Hamas one of the most underrated disc golfers? I said he was the top up-and-comer 5 years ago, and at least he's done enough for me to be right about that one. I would love to announce second place, however, I don't want to butcher your name, Mio, who also just played in the European Disc Golf Championship, by the way, so those European kids are quite scary. There's a huge pile up at third place, which has caused no discussion for scoring separation, but I guess Tour Life comes out on Tuesday, so there's still time. And that's everything that shocked disc golfers from the past weekend. If you want to never miss out on anything disc golf ever again, consider subscribing down below. Then you won't miss out on tomorrow's episode of the Spit Out, Disc Golf World's podcast. And if you want the unfiltered stuff, check out the Patreon for that. Big thanks to everyone who's been supporting. Without you guys, there's no way we'd be able to go to Finland for Worlds. We really appreciate all of you disgenerates.